what we previously thought. Now, how did that balance get brokered? Well, ultimately, the Peugeot guy is going to be the guy running the new operation. So maybe, to a degree, there's a price to be paid for that.
I'm wondering,
paid by the Peugeot shareholders.
So Tom was talking about romance and about the Renault in his neighborhood. And I wonder if the romance has shifted to electric, even though it's not that profitable, and how important it is for these two companies to join forces to have the capital to invest in the new romance.
That is absolutely the right observation in my view. Romance is a nice way of putting it too, because if you look at, pick up any car magazine, there's such a disproportionate focus on electric. Go to any auto show, a disproportionate focus on electric relative to the actual number of cars that are being sold of that type. Electric is in a way the new premium, It's maybe not there yet, but ultimately, in order to sell a product at a premium, it needs to be differentiated, and I believe that in the future, electric is where the differentiation will lie. So yes, down the line, maybe they don't have to be there today from a profit perspective, but they need to get there, and that's not cheap. Volkswagen can get there because of scale. These guys have got to find their own way.
So the new scale.
One way of doing it.
The new scale. Damien Flowers emerges. Yes, exactly. Damien Flowers, thank you so much with Commerce Bank this morning. We've done careful research here at Team Surveillance on economics, finance, investment. One of our joys is there's one of those recessive genes in Team Surveillance where everybody has twins. This is, it's like sick, the number of twins.
I mean, Lisa's laughing, but it's true.
This is an example here of the difference in the Team Surveillance households. One house, this is Colin of the twins, they're just going as Spider-Man, Captain Marvel. Can we get this done as fast as we can?
Right.
At the other house, they're going as Little Damon in a broken porcelain doll, which is that's cute. It took 8 weeks of planning at the Fellow
Have you told them
house.
what we're going as? Every year, I go as down points, and Tom goes as the VIX in percentage terms. Scares the hell out of Wall Street.
It does. It does, particularly logarithmic. This is Bloomberg. Good morning.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Shares of Kraft Heinz are cooking up gains this morning after the company reported earnings that beat estimates and promised that it has started to set a strategic direction after a challenging few years. Stock futures still pointing to a lower Wall Street open this morning. S&P futures down 9, NASDAQ futures down 15, Dow futures down 71. NYMEX crude is lower by 1.3% at $54.35 a barrel. Dunkin' Brands is boosting its adjusted earnings per share forecast for the full year and beating estimates. The company also beat projections in the latest quarter, although U.S. comparable sales at its Dunkin' outlets fell just shy of estimates, but international sales blew past analysts' projections. On this Halloween, the National Retail Federation projects that when all of the spending is said and done, the holiday will tally almost $9 billion in spending, a little less than last year. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, work from home on a Friday jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, Soho jobs, Shoreditch jobs. Keep me away from the central line jobs. Banking jobs, building jobs, never ever boring jobs. Small jobs, big jobs, lunch in Borough Market jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
London, switch to Vodafone, the UK's best mobile network, and Be Unlimited, because the best phones deserve the best network, and our new unlimited data plans. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Max download speeds apply to unlimited data. Best network as voted by readers of trusted reviews. Terms at vodafone.co.uk/unlimited.
Hello? This is Dustin. I found something. Is anybody there?
We hear you, Dustin. With Sky Q, you can easily catch up on epic Netflix shows like Stranger Things and then watch award-winning Sky originals like Chernobyl. Get Sky and Netflix all in one place on Sky Q for one surprisingly low price. Just £25 a month. Visit sky.com and join today. Offer ends November 14th. 18-month minimum terms. Prices may change during contract. Requires Sky Q box connected to broadband. Set up from £20. Further terms apply.
Watford, it's chilly outside, and you're staying in with your feet up. And they can stay up. Because with Hive Active Heating, you can set the perfect temperature without even lifting a finger.
Alexa, ask Hive to boost my heating.
And by never having to heat an empty home, you could save up to £120 a year on your heating bill.
Alexa, play my Nice and Toasty playlist.
Search Hive Heating to buy now. Hive services require broadband and Wi-Fi. Terms apply.
Hey NFL fans, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can hear every NFL game live as it's happening, or catch it later on demand. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
ESPN Radio and TuneIn just go hand in hand. Hi, this is Mel Kiper Jr. reminding you that all of your favorite ESPN Radio shows and events are right here on TuneIn. Just search ESPN Radio to begin enjoying it today.
College football is live on TuneIn. Listen for free to games from more than 140 schools all season long.
To the 10, all the way to the checkerboard. Somebody stays on his feet.
It is the annual Florida-Georgia College Football Showdown. This year, there are more than just bragging rights on the line, with both teams ranked in the top 10. Will it be the Gators or Bulldogs leaving Jacksonville on top of the SEC East and in the driver's seat for the conference championship? Find out this Saturday, with kickoff starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Search college football to listen.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
From New York City, this is Bloomberg Surveillance for our audience worldwide. We're live on Bloomberg Radio, where your economic indicators are brought to you by Commonwealth Financial Network. For the sixth straight time, J.D. Power ranks Commonwealth number one in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms. Visit Commonwealth.com to learn more. Let's get you that economic data,
Is it appropriate data?
We've got to get across.
It's appropriate.
So Vinny, Dow Dice.
Gentlemen, good morning. Let's cut to the chase on the income and spending report. The inflation component, PCE core deflator, unchanged in September. It had been up 0.1% the prior month. Core PCE year over year, 1.7% slower than the prior month. This is again September versus August. As far as the income number, up 0.3%, spending up 0.2%, mixed overall. Employment cost index up a bit, 0.7% in the third quarter versus 0.6%. Let's look at jobless claims. They're up to 218,000.
Oh, my word.
Still close, right? Still close to a half-century low. I'm Vinny Del Giudice, Bloomberg Radio. Gentlemen, wait a minute. Are you going to go trick-or-treating in Staten Island this year?
Yeah, we always do.
Yeah, we do. We always do.
We do the five boroughs, don't we?
I'm going as a VIX. What are you going as?
I'm going as the Dow in points.
Good, okay. Well, that's good.
We make our way around New York. That's what we always do.
I'm looking at this data, and it confirms the inflation data of
Lisa's not taking it seriously.
No, she isn't, But John, I mean, this is a little light. This is a little light, and yields come in, 30-year bond now in 5 basis points, and this goes to nominal GDP. And again, with Vice Chairman Clarida tomorrow, is it a solid economy? I'm seeing the inflation component here. Ain't there, Lisa?
The question to me is, are we seeing cracks in the consumer strength? September consumer spending rose less than expected. This is the big question. This has been the pillar of the economic expansion. And are we seeing a slowdown
If you offered Chairman Powell at the start of this year an equity market near all-time highs, credit spreads near cycle tights, and GDP at trend growth, don't you think he would have ripped your arm off to be there by the end of 2019? Because that's where he is.
2 dissents yesterday. Interesting. It's fascinating. Thomas Orlick with us right now. He is head of our economics coverage. We've got 8 things to talk to him about. Tom, you are encyclopedic on China and the relationship of the great cities of China. Let's start with this Bloomberg Report story today, which is a legitimate story that they are waiting out. They need tariff reduction. What has been the impact of this trade war on Hong Kong, on Shanghai, and on Beijing?
I think you're right to highlight the regional differences here, Tom. China is a very, very big place. You've got your Shanghais, your Guangdongs, your Zhejiangs, which are highly exposed to trade. And of course, Hong Kong, where the trade war is coming at exactly the same time as they have these social protests, and that combined has pushed the city into a recession. The rest of the country, the inland provinces, they're not so exposed to trade, but guess what? They've got another serious problem. They took on too much debt. Now they're having to pay it down. And the combination of the trade war and the deleveraging process on a nationwide scale is why we think China's growth is going below 6% by the end of the year.
Tom, do you think that growth deceleration is accompanied by any kind of stimulus ramp-up whatsoever, or is it the same as what we've seen through much of the last 18 months?
They've just got this huge constraint, Jonathan. Because they took on all this debt, their capacity to stimulate through the monetary channel is pretty limited. And what we're seeing so far this year is that they're also pretty cautious on the fiscal channel. Another important difference that I'd flag is that in past downturns, China's stimulus has been big and it's been generous in terms of the international spillovers. There's been huge import demand that's driven growth in Australia, Brazil, Chile. This time round, the stimulus is smaller and it's a more selfish stimulus. They're keeping the benefits at home, so those spillovers to the rest of the world are much less.
Because Tom Orlick's with us, Lisa, we've got to ramp it up here. So I have with Kaizheng Kongjin.
Yeah, that's
fiscal space in Chinese simplified.
I'm sure you pronounced it perfectly.
Kaizheng
I am wondering.
Kongjin.
Oh wow, the accent really.
You've been practicing.
Pretty much blew us away. I think that should go on your costume. I will just say, Tom Orlick. I wanted to wonder about Hong Kong and how that factors into the calculus in Beijing in terms of we did see the economy contracting sharply, falling into recession. Technically, how does that affect Beijing's willingness to negotiate with the U.S., if at all?
So it's going to be really easy for me to answer that question from a Beijing perspective, because having heard Tom's flawless pronunciation, I feel like I'm transported back to Beijing as I answer. So I think the Hong Kong situation, the MBA situation, the human rights situation, the sanctions on Chinese technology firms, these are all part of the mix. But what China's policymakers are trying really hard to do is separate these issues, because what they want is to do that mini deal on trade to at least get that one problem off the immediate agenda. And so Hong Kong is an issue, human rights is an issue, tech sanctions are an issue. So far, they're not impacting the trade talks.
Tom Orlick, I sat in Shanghai once at a pizza place with 8 expats around a table, and they were explaining to me that it took them 8 years to be able to order pizza over the phone.
Who eats pizza in Shanghai?
Oh, they do. It's very... Ask Orlick.
But what about like, soup dumplings?
No, they want... Tom, the food is eclectic in Shanghai, right?
I have to say, Tom, I'm with Lisa on this.
Oh,
Sit in New York, soup dumplings in Shanghai.
I've got some breaking news, guys. Tom, we've got to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Orlick. Thank you so much. Head of our economics.
We have another baby Charlie.
We do. It's very, very cool.
The boss from Purdue.
Beautiful baby.
The boss from Purdue. Now, for our listeners, our regular listeners will know that our boss, Rachel, from Purdue, of course, is no longer with us at the moment. She's taken maternity leave,
She's
Tom.
my child.
So you and I are going to be totally wild for the next, 6 months or so, and we can welcome baby Charlie into the world. Congratulations, Rachel.
Good morning, Indiana. And now the news in New York City. Here's Michael Barr.
Tom, Jonathan, Lisa, thank you very much. Former Republican Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, had harsh words for the Democrats' impeachment inquiry resolution. The House is expected to vote today on a resolution laying out rules for public hearings and releasing deposition transcripts. Newt Gingrich on ABC says that the resolution is baloney.
It gives the Republicans no real authority. It gives the president no real authority. And by the way, it starts with thousands of pages of secret material gathered by Schiff in a totally one-sided Star Chamber manner.
Meanwhile, the inquiry expects to hear testimony from administration security officials. Today, Tim Morrison will testify. He's the top Russia expert on the National Security Council, and he is leaving his White House post. Senator Kamala Harris is shaking up her campaign. In a memo to staff, her campaign manager says that they will give consultants a pay cut, reduce her staff in their Baltimore headquarters, and relocate other state staff to Iowa. South Korea's military says North Korea fired at least one unidentified projectile off its eastern coast today. Japan's Coast Guard separately said that the object was likely a missile. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg, Tom.
Michael Barr, thanks so much. Time now for the Bloomberg NBC Nationals report. Here's John Stashauer.
Tom, to think the Washington Nationals were a franchise known for playoff disappointments. Not this year. They won that wild card playoff after trailing by 2 runs in the 8th inning. They beat the Dodgers in a decisive game after trailing by 2 in the 8th. And last night, World Series Game 7 in Houston, the Nats down 2 in the 7th. Anthony Rendon homered, and 2 batters later.
Pitch. Swinging a line drive, sliced down the right field line toward the corner. Springer back, looking up, and this one is gone. It hits the foul pole, and the Nationals lead. Howie Kendrick has done it again. A slicing 2-run homer off the right field foul pole. Do you believe it, Howie Kendrick? Part 2.
Nationals radio, the call. It was Kendrick who won that game in L.A. with a grand slam. He was the NLCS MVP. Nationals only had 1 hit in the first 6 innings off Zach Greinke, but 6 runs on 8 hits over the last 3. Another comeback win. 6-2 in Houston, ending the World Series where the road team won every game. Steven Strasburg won twice, named Series MVP. He's expected to opt out. He'll get a big contract. Rendon will be a free agent as well, as will the Astros ace Garrett Cole. It was a surprise that he never got into the game last night, and the Astros will also spend the offseason thinking about stranding 9 runners over the first 5 innings. Low-scoring game in Orlando. Magic beat the Knicks 95-83, and Brooklyn, Indiana's first win of the year, beat the Nets 118-108. The Warriors are struggling. Last night blown out at home by Phoenix, and they've lost Steph Curry to a broken left hand. The highest-scoring 1-point game in NBA history, same cities as the World Series team. Houston 159, Washington 158. Devils lost in overtime to Tampa Bay 7-6. With the Bloomberg NBC Sports Update, I'm John Stashauer. Tom?
John, thanks so much. Bloomberg Business and Sports. Michael Barr with us right now. Michael, boy, do you just need some Game 6, Game 7 excitement. 11 million up to 16 million ratings for Game 6. You got to think it was Super Bowl like last night.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, it's like you had anytime you have a Game 7, you're going to get the ratings.
Yeah, I mean, up at Pops as well. Bryce in Philadelphia, that worked out.
Oh, see, that's just rub it in his face. Bryce Harper, he didn't mean it.
Joe Girardi's going to have to show up with a bottle of aspirin. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their business strategically. Yet, the most competitive managers in the market know, with the right partner and a flexible operating platform, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
Determination and operational strength are both essential factors for growth in asset management. I'm Steve Meyer, President, Head of SEI's Investment Manager Services Division. We know that disruptive forces create opportunities around the world. If you see potential in change, our industry specialists will maximize SEI's integrated platform of data and risk management, global investment operations, compliance support, and investor services to position your asset management business for success. Come grow with us.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
London, switch to Vodafone, the UK's best mobile network, and Be Unlimited, because the best phones deserve the best network and our new unlimited data plans. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Max download speeds apply to unlimited data. Best network as voted by readers of trusted reviews. Terms at vodafone.co.uk/unlimited.
Hello? This is Dustin. I found something. Is anybody there?
We hear you, Dustin. With Sky Q, you can easily catch up on epic Netflix shows like Stranger Things and then watch award-winning Sky originals like Chernobyl. Get Sky and Netflix all in one place on Sky Q for one surprisingly low price, just £25 a month. Visit sky.com and join today. Offer ends November 14th. 18-month minimum terms. Prices may change during contract. Requires Sky Q box connected to broadband. Set up from £20. Further terms apply.
The B&Q 3 for 2 offer is now on, including an unmissable 3 for 2 on all paint, such as Dulux, Valspar and Farrow & Ball. For this show-stopping deal, hurry to B&Q. You can do it when you're 3 for 2 it. Every third item a single transaction in the send-in price order free. Offer ends November 3rd. See DIY.com.
With the new Halifax Family Boost mortgage, children can get help to buy their first home, and mum and dad earn interest on their savings. Everyone's a winner. The new Halifax Family Boost mortgage. Halifax makes it happen.
Your home and savings could be at risk if mortgage repayments are not maintained. Only available in England and Wales. One applicant must hold a Halifax Reward or Ultimate Reward current account. Conditions and exclusions apply.
The Peugeot Professional Van range is the beating heart of businesses across the UK. Whether you're on the road with only your DAB radio for company or navigating tight spots with rear parking sensors, all Peugeot Professional Vans give your business that edge. Visit your local Peugeot dealership during our October van event from the 10th to the 31st of October and drive away with an exclusive finance offer. Master the impossible. Peugeot Motor Company PLC is acting as a credit broker, not a lender. Finance subject to status. Terms and conditions apply. Business users and over 18s only. Guarantee may be required. PSA Finance UK Limited.
To a network of news and financial information 24 hours a day. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now, a global news update.
House consideration of ground rules for impeaching President Trump is likely to end in adoption of procedures favored by Democrats but opposed by Republicans. A near-party line vote is expected in D.C. today. A longtime Republican aide and advisor on foreign affairs is on Capitol Hill to testify in the House impeachment inquiry a day after he left his post at the White House. Tim Morrison was President Trump's top advisor for Russian and European affairs. Twitter has announced that it will ban political ads on its platform.
This is an acknowledgement from one of the titans of Silicon Valley, Jack Dorsey, that online political ads are fundamentally different to ads that you put in newspapers and on TV.
Correspondent Donny O'Sullivan. A Pakistani official says the death toll from a horrific train fire that broke out after a cooking gas stove exploded has risen further to 71 lives lost. I'm John Trout.
Carol Masser, Jason Kelly, and Bloomberg Business Week.
What do you make of Bitcoin? Who's doing it right from a sector perspective?
Better information for a better than great day. Weekday afternoons at 2 on Bloomberg 1130. Bloomberg, the world is listening. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. U.S. consumer spending trailing forecasts in September, while weekly applications for unemployment benefits rose more than projected. Consumer outlays for goods and services, which account for about 70% of gross domestic product, increased 0.2% from the prior month after a 0.2% August advance that was larger than previously estimated. The report also showed income gains matched projections, while the Fed's preferred inflation gauge matched the slowest pace since 2016. U.S. stock index futures are lower this morning following reports that China doubts the possibility of a long-term trade deal with President Trump. And we check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day. On Bloomberg, S&P futures down about 5 points. Dow futures down 41. NASDAQ futures down 3. The DAX in Germany, it's little change. 10-year Treasury up 11/30 seconds, yield 1.73%. The yield on the 2-year, 1.57%. NYMEX crude oil is down 1.3% or 72 cents at $54.34 a barrel. COMEX gold up 1% or $14.80 at $15.1150 an ounce. The euro 1.1163 against the dollar. British pound 1.2972, and the yen is at 108.17. And that's a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Bloomberg Opinion, informed perspectives, and expert data-driven commentary on breaking news.
Good morning, everyone. John Farrow and Tom Keene, thank you for being with us. Bloomberg Surveillance, brought to you by Invesco. Every day they bring together ideas with technology, data with inspiration, and investors with solutions. Invesco, greater possibilities together. Invesco.com/together. Invesco Distributors, Inc. From Bloomberg Opinion, Alex Webb joining us right now on the strangeness of this huge technology. Alex, company to company, are we in awe of their dominance and growth because their revenue growth is now so much greater than what we see from the rest of American and global finance and corporate world?
I do think that's certainly the case with companies like Facebook. Clearly, I think we're over that with Apple. Apple certainly is not growing at the pace that it was 3 or 4 years ago. But even with kind of headwinds that we constantly hear about, not least regulatory, Facebook is continuing to grow, and it's continuing to grow users as well, which is surprising. There had been a bit of a slackening in user growth, particularly in North America, but it added 3 million users in North America in the most recent quarter, which is a very positive surprise for investors.
I understand also, Alex, that quarterly growth in the North American user base for this quarter more or equal to the previous 5 quarters combined. What drove that?
I mean, ultimately, Facebook continues to innovate. It continues to find ways of sucking people into its platform. It might get any amount of criticism for, the way that it presents or has presented news, perhaps historically, but it finds ways of sucking people in. And the traction of a platform like Instagram, it is very, very popular, and they are getting more and more influencers onto it, which of course then more influencers bring more users, and it's clearly been positive for them.
Alex, you're very good at this. What is the ability of any kind of technology company to migrate to a different kind of culture? Apple's delivering near 11% dividend growth last 5 years. If Gene Munster says they're going to become Procter and Gamble-like, how do technology companies do that? How do they culturally morph to a different blue chippier zeitgeist?
I mean, I think we can look at Microsoft as a prime example.
Exactly,
of that. Microsoft, which 15, 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, was very much the bête noire of regulators. Now they have quite a cozy relationship with regulators. When we talk about these breakout conversations of megatech, Microsoft is not involved in that, even though they are thereabouts the biggest company in the world by market cap, depending on what day it is. They've managed to move from being the Windows company to being a cloud company and a cloud software company. That is a lot of it to do with the CEO at Microsoft. Satya Nadella has been very, very good at changing the kind of groupthink there. But it is something that perhaps Tim Cook is doing now at Apple, but he did also oversee the huge success of the iPhone. I think the jury is still out on the sustainability of Apple's new business approach. The movement to new services such as TV Plus, music, new arcade on the sort of gaming subscription apps. It's not really clear how profitable those businesses are, and a lot of the growth in services comes from Google paying them to host their, to be the default search engine, for instance.
I want to go back to something we were talking earlier in the show. Twitter shares falling after saying that they were going to strip political ads, and Facebook obviously not doing that. Their shares popping as they gain subscribers. Meanwhile, in the New York Times, Aaron Sorkin wrote an open letter to Mark Zuckerberg. He said, he wrote the social network network, and he regrets it because he is so disappointed with what Mark Zuckerberg has been doing. I'm just wondering, basically what we're seeing today in markets, is that an indictment of any potential regulatory pressure on some of these social media companies?
I honestly think that the regulatory pressures they're facing have not yet really been built into the stock price. I'm not sure how realistically they are being taken. These things take a long time to play out, and I think that in the meantime, investors still see a huge amount of upside. Any sort of breakup of these companies is going to be complex, is going to be challenged, is going to take a long time. And for now, as we've seen, the most recent quarter, they still grew, revenue by, I think, was it 17-20%? It's a big jump. In terms of the actual revenue from political ads, it's not much. I think it was pretty canny opportunism from Jack Dorsey, the Twitter CEO. Well, he announced this an hour before Facebook dropped their numbers, and he stole a huge number of the headlines as a consequence.
But I will say they're being punished as a result, and there is a lot of talk about ESG funds and responsible investing. But the clear sign from Wall Street today is that profit matters, and how much you're going to grow those profit margins, not some sort of evidence of social responsibility, albeit perhaps a stunt to gain headlines.
Yeah, I mean, I'm unsure that they're literally punishing them for that exact news. I think it probably more is cycling into Facebook from Twitter for the other reasons. The fact that their business is a lot stronger. I mean, sometimes we get a bit too hung up on Twitter when we think about the fact that it's a company which has, $2.5 billion in revenue. Now, for context, in BT, the British, telecoms as it used to be, that's how much profit BT does. And yet sometimes we throw Twitter in there as a tech giant. It's not. It's really a minnow. Yeah. And therefore, stock is also perhaps a little more volatile.
Yeah, really well said. Let's do that to finish out Alex Webb. I was absolutely thunderstruck by the new scope and scale of Apple and, frankly, Amazon getting out on a 3-year or 5-year vector, too. I can't believe I'm saying this, folks. 1 million employees. We're not there yet, but that's the trend that you can see coming. Do we understand how big these companies are? Have they become like the too big to fail banks, Alex Webb or iRail, that we really don't understand the size of the Bank of America?
I mean, it is quite astonishing the fact that they even managed to manage these companies, because they are huge. Yeah. And even with Apple, if you look at their headcount, it's about 100,000, but that doesn't tell the whole picture because, of course, or doesn't paint the whole picture.
The manufacturing offshoot.
Exactly. They have all these contract manufacturers who, Foxconn, huge tracts of that company.
Do you have a working number? Have you seen in research a working number, Alex Webb, of the all-in Apple employment?
You will see Tim Cook talk about that Apple supports 3 million jobs in the US, directly and indirectly. Now, that's people, making apps that go on the App Store, and clearly there he's picking the biggest possible number. But, if employees in China, there will be 1 million people making iPhones, so it is, Alex, big old number.
We don't care. We just want to know if you've tried the new AirPods. You're the hip one.
I haven't yet. I really like to, because I think
Can you get on that so by Monday we can get a full web report?
Spend $250 to leave them around the household.
Leave them around the household as a Lego so I can step on them.
If you can shoot an email to my boss giving me clearance to expensive.
Oh, please, Redo. I can get right over to Redo, keeper of the Amex, and be sure we get that done.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be really popular.
Alex Webb, thank you so much, always for perspective, writing for Bloomberg Opinion. And again, Lisa was in the call yesterday, and Paul Sweeney, jump in here as well. To me, it was a seminal up call. Forget about buy, hold, sell, of the size of the enterprise, like Starship Enterprise.
And this is sort of the big debate. You can say whatever in terms of slowing iPhone sales or sort of saturation of the field, but the field is vast and they own it, and the revenue is massive.
Do they own it, Paul? I mean, Samsung. I sent a note to my advisor, Marty. He's at Madison Square Garden trying to fix the Rangers. And I said to him, I said, Samsung, where do they fit into this?
They haven't morphed into what is Apple is. Samsung's a hardware manufacturer. Apple is much more than that. They're trying to create this ecosystem where they can grow this.
Is there a Samsung Android ecosystem anymore?
Nothing to the extent of Apple, certainly, and they don't have the brand name clearly in the consumer side that Apple has, and so the pivot for Apple, as Gene Munster was mentioning yesterday on our show, is they're kind of looking like a consumer products company, and they've got great growth and great margins.
Did you hear
and
his
great cash.
350 number?
Yeah, fantastic.
He put a 350 number.
I like the swipe feature on Samsung, and I don't like that there is not a swipe feature for the iPhone where you can basically go like this and just get the letters. I'm gesturing as though you can.
Oh no, they have that now, but I haven't figured out how to use it.
All right, maybe we can try to teach each other.
This is like on the keyboard?
Yes.
Yeah,
I read about that. Yeah. I can do that, but I don't know how to do it. I don't do Siri.
You don't do Siri?
I don't do Apple Pay.
Do you do Alexa?
What?
Do you do Alexa?
God, no.
Why? She tells jokes. It's really fun.
Yeah, well, it's hilarious unless Vet Bill would be going to Alexa. There'd be boxes from Chewy to the ceiling if Vet Bill had Alexa. Anyways, Alex Webb, great. And we're going to continue with some of this discussion that affects all of our lives. Futures at -6. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg.
It's another Thursday afternoon. Yet another windy day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick to see spectacular coral reefs and white sand beaches. Fly from London Gatwick to Mauritius with British Airways, with flights and 7 nights hotel from just £949 per person. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun with British Airways. Incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, work from home on a Friday jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, Soho jobs, Shoreditch jobs. Keep me away from the central line jobs. Banking jobs, building jobs, never ever boring jobs. Small jobs, big jobs, lunch in Borough Market jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
I've always loved a kitchen experiment, especially smoothies. I've blended all sorts of mad combinations. Strawberry and charcoal, broccoli and chocolate. Not my best, that. But when I test blenders in the Witch Lab, it's not about flavour, it's about performance. Our tests use proper tough stuff, hard ice, strong veg, rough nuts. And the blenders that can hack it are the only ones we recommend for your kitchen.
Which tests harder so you can buy smarter. Visit which.co.uk.
Financial capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. This is Bloomberg Surveillance Economics.
American economic power and future depends on trade deals.
In many of these countries, we've still seen people struggling.
Finance.
We're in this vortex of uncertainty. These big companies, they just sometimes lack focus.
Investment.
The markets have become a little bit too addicted to the Fed.
Timing the market is just so difficult.
Bloomberg Surveillance with Tom Keene and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Sweeney, Tom Keene, Bloomberg Surveillance. Thrilled you're with us. Knee deep in the earnings season. We'll get right to that with David Wilson. Futures up 1. They go -12 off an important story. Bloomberg reports with some real meat to the story that the Chinese push back on a long-term trade solution. They need tariff reduction. It's a really blunt story, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really kind of changes the narrative that had been building over the last, call it week or so, that progress is being made and a phase 1 deal was ready to be signed down in Chile, which, of course, Chile is not going to happen these days.
Well, that's because of the populism we see. Thank you to Barry Eichengreen joining us earlier from Berkeley. Greatly appreciate that this morning. We got to get right to it because there's a lot to talk about, and part of it is the culture of, and this is to my youth, Peugeot and Renault. It wasn't Renault, it was a Renault Dauphine.
Really?
And Nobby down 2 doors down had a Renault Dauphine that we would go stare at in the driveway. With our report on Fiat Chrysler in Puget is David Wilson. It's a big merger, David.
It is. I mean, you're talking about a $48 billion deal. This is all about Fiat Chrysler getting together with the maker of Peugeot, France's PSA Group. Terms of the merger call for a 50-50 ownership split, and Fiat Chrysler's shareholders will receive a $6.1 billion dividend as part of this deal. Fiat Chrysler, the most active stock in early U.S. trading, up almost 4%. And then we turn to earnings. Apple higher by 1.5%. The iPhone maker's profit and sales for the fiscal fourth quarter beat analyst average estimates in a Bloomberg survey. Apple's first quarter revenue forecast also was higher than projections, thanks in part to those new iPhone 11 models. Facebook's up 4.5%. Third quarter results from the social media company showed earnings and sales topped estimates. Now, Facebook added 35 million users in the quarter, including 3 million in North America, which matched the total for the previous 5 quarters combined.
Can we pause here so you can get a breath? We forget, Paul Sweeney, how international these companies are. Apple, same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Percent of domestic revenues is smaller than I thought.
Exactly. So when we talk global trade, it
okay
impacts
over there?
not just...
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah, look,
he's got the tie open. He's got the shirt
he's in combat form.
Yeah,
Go.
I'm good. I'm ready to roll. Facebook's gain contrasts with Twitter's loss. Twitter down 1.5% after banning political advertising in advance of next year's U.S. presidential election. And it may not surprise you that President Donald Trump's campaign called the move, quote, very dumb. Kraft Heinz up 8.5%. The food maker's third quarter profit beat the average projection by the most in 3.5 years. And consider that Kraft shares after the 4 previous earnings reports were down at least 8.5%. So real contrast today.
This is Velveeta cheese, and they took the badwill markdowns like a year ago or whatever.
February.
Right? February. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Altria Group's up 2%. The tobacco company's adjusted earnings beat the average estimate for the first time in 4 quarters. I say adjusted because the profit was before $4.5 billion charge on its stake in vaping company Juul Labs. Lyft's up 3.5%. The ride-hailing company reported higher third quarter revenue and a narrower loss than analysts expected. Lyft also raised full-year forecasts. Western Digital, on the other hand, down 7.5%. CEO Steve Milligan will leave the maker of data storage devices once his successor is found. The 56-year-old Milligan had run Western Digital since 2013, and that pending departure outweighed fiscal first quarter results that beat projections. You've got Hanes Brands down 9.5%. The apparel maker was less profitable in the third quarter than analysts expected, though earnings and sales were in line with estimates. And finally, Wayfair, down 14%. The online seller of home furnishings had a wider third quarter loss than analysts expected and made fourth quarter forecasts to trail estimates. And you want to talk trade?
Yes.
Wayfair said 90% of its Chinese suppliers have raised prices.
That's called tariffs.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Just quickly here, because I know we have to get to Chairman Levitt, but my chart of the year is very closely to be customs intake by the U.S. government, which is 5 standard deviations up. Thank you, Wayfair.
Exactly. Bloomberg Stocks editor Dave Wilson, thanks so much. Tom, if you can remember all the way back to the financial crisis, residential mortgage-backed securities, RMBS, that brings back some nightmares for a lot of traders, a lot of investors. Right now, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is considering relaxing some of those post-crisis structured mortgage product rules, and it seems a little controversial. To get some color on this, we welcome Arthur Levitt, former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. So, Arthur, a little surprising maybe that their SEC is considering relaxing some of these rules in the mortgage market?
It's going on throughout our economy. It's a return to another era. Rules are out, permission is in, and here's a case where we're moving back toward that crisis era. It's inexorable in terms of the appetite of investors for products of this kind. The SEC says that it was looking for feedback on whether those disclosure rules were discouraging firms from issuing the RMBS. Well, that's obviously the first step toward taking those rules off. And it follows 5 years of somewhat limited activity in SEC-registered RMBS market. The SEC said it was seeking comment on whether the SEC should implement a provide or explain regime. I think that's kind of a key word for permissive, to allow an issuer to omit any asset level data point, as long as they identify the data point and explains why it can't provide the information.
So, Arthur, we go back to the pre-crisis. The mortgage-backed securities business was a huge moneymaker for Wall Street. So, is the SEC responding to Wall Street saying, hey, come on, we've learned our lessons. It's 10 years past the crisis. You can dial back some of these rules?
That's exactly what it's doing.
And what's the extent of how long does this typically take, this whole process for the SEC to switch what has been a 10-year set of rules that have arguably worked very well?
I think the process takes a period of time and follows a lot of other rule changes that have been somewhat relaxed in a deregulatory era that we're in now.
Arthur, the seminal moment here is, I'm going to say June-ish, and I'm going to say 2004-ish. We're allowed to leverage up the banks. Leverage is visible, it's tangible, but there's other kind of leverages, particularly in derivative instruments like RMBS and other fancy names, folks. I don't want anybody to drive off the road this morning. Are we leveraging up surreptitiously this time around?
I think so. I really believe that this is a step in returning to the period of time when our markets became so leveraged and over-leveraged.
There it is. Arthur Levitt, thank you so much. He's the former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, of course, Bloomberg LP board member. I had all sorts of baseball questions from Chairman Levitt today about the Washington Senators winning.
Yeah, once the ratings weren't great for the TV networks, but they won 7 games.
But they came back. Game 6 was Red Sox-like, and we don't know Game 7 yet. But 11 million out to 16 million. You wonder where Game 7 was.
Yeah, and 7. If you're Fox, the networks. You have 7 games. That's a lot of ad inventory you got to sell to offset. Your rights fees. What kills you is a 4-game sweep.
Where are we in the streaming wars right now? I mean, Apple Plus out. I'm seeing ads for it, like when I'm watching the Montreal Canadiens win, things like that. There's Apple Plus ads, but. Do we know a streaming price point yet other than Mr. Cook's lower is better?
We don't know yet. And, we had HBO had a big investor conference a couple of days ago where they unveiled their HBO Max. I think it's like $14.99, so that's a premium price product. But you get a lot of really good content, including all that HBO content here. And there's lots of different models out there, and we'll have to. It's going to be. I think it'd be a multi-year period to see kind of where consumers really shake out.
How many do you guess you will have in your house? That's the arch question.
That is the arch question. I think what I've heard from the Michael Nathansons of the world and the Rich Greenfields of the world is 3, maybe 4. Is it 5? Is it 2? But something around 3 or 4. And but I think people are looking at their bills and they're saying, "Wait a minute, I've got 6 or 7 here."
My tweet of the day yesterday was Richard Greenfield, who, I'm going to be blunt, had a lot of courage a long time ago as a sell-side analyst with some real physical risk against a company that didn't like him. And he had a tweet yesterday, Paul Sweeney, about how in the conference calls, the analysts they'll go, Michael Barr of Bloomberg Securities, and Michael Barr will go say great quarter.
Great quarter.
Yeah, there it is.
That's
and they said, great. What? Paul, where did this come from?
Came from back in the days when the investment bankers, would get paid if the analyst was well liked by the companies. But right now it comes down to corporate access.
Great quarter.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yep. Corporate access.
Great quarter.
Great. Thank you. It's nuts. Thanks, Rich Greenfield, for that.
Let's get national headlines right now with Michael Barr. Michael.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, Tom. A longtime Republican aide and advisor on foreign affairs is being called to testify right now in the House impeachment inquiry the day after he left his post at the White House. Tim Morrison was President Donald Trump's top advisor for Russian and European affairs when he left the National Security Council ahead of his appearance for today. The House is expected to vote today on a resolution laying out rules for public hearings and releasing deposition transcripts. Lots of people in the Washington area are probably late to work. The Washington Nationals clinched their first World Series title after defeating the host Houston Astros 6-2 in Game 7 last night at Minute Maid Park. Global news, 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Paul, Tom?
Great quarter. It's a great quarter.
Yep.
Thanks for having us on. What can I write up positively? Rich Greenfield, Walter Piecyk, Light Shed. Good morning. This is Bloomberg.
I saw you last night.
Great quarter.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Hey y'all, Jeff Foxworthy here. Now, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing over and over for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
That's why I'm filling in for Smokey to switch things up, because there's a lot more to say. And I should know because my grandfather was a firefighter. And one of the things he taught me is that the people that love the outdoors the most are often the ones accidentally starting wildfires, which means always BYOB. No, bring your own bucket to the campfire. And be extra careful with things like burning yard trimmings. Don't just walk away, or chances are you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Why has...
It's another Thursday afternoon, yet another windy day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick and witness luscious scenery and calming waves. Fly from London Gatwick to St. Lucia with British Airways, with flights and 7 nights hotel from just £739 per person. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun with British Airways. Incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
I've always loved a kitchen experiment, especially smoothies. I've blended all sorts of mad combinations. Strawberry and charcoal, broccoli and chocolate. Not my best, that. But when I test blenders in the Witch Lab, it's not about flavour, it's about performance. Our tests use proper tough stuff, hard ice, strong veg, rough nuts. And the blenders that can hack it are the only ones we recommend for your kitchen.
Which tests harder so you can buy smarter. Visit which.co.uk.
Fall in love with the brand new iPhone 11 at Tesco Mobile. Take amazing photos with Apple's best ever ultra